Hey guys, welcome back to the fish room. Are you guys struggling to keep your fry alive? I know when I first started breeding, that was one of my biggest struggles, was trying to keep my fry alive, especially when they're first born and free swimming. When you have fry that are super small and you work full time, it's really hard to feed them 4 or 5 times a day. So I've got a little trick that I've tested and it's definitely worked out, and I can't wait to show you guys how to culture this new live food. So I started feeding my fry banana worms about 2-3 months ago. Now I only tend to feed these guys at the beginning just to get them through so that I can start feeding brine shrimp. Banana worms and micro worms are microscopic nematodes. Now that's just the scientific name for them. They're basically tiny itty bitty little worms that feed off bacteria and yeast. They're really easy to culture. I've been culturing them for, like I said, a few months now. I found it really easy to do. And the best part about them is that they actually live in the water column for up to about 11 hours, which is great. So I feed it first thing in the morning and I can go to work, do my full 8-hour shift, come back, and then feed my fry again. So this is what I have found to be really successful to keeping my fry alive and getting past that first stage that's really difficult. I've definitely done trial and error to get to this point where I've figured out how to keep them alive and full throughout the day when I'm not here. These guys also have a high protein percentage in them and also a high fat. So what that's doing is keeping the fish fuller for longer, which is perfect. Fuller for longer, it sounds like a dieting technique. But no, it is actually working for these little tiny babies. And I've had most success with breeding my angel fish like this because I could not keep those alive while I wasn't here for the life of me. But I figured it out and have had some really great success with it. So let me show you how to culture them. It's super easy. So let's go through what you're going to need to start some cultures. Now the first thing I've got here is a starter culture. This is a culture I've used before and I'm just reusing it to create more. Now you can buy starter cultures online, or you could get them from your local fish shop, or you could get them from any groups or clubs that are in your area. So we're going to need some instant dried yeast, some instant mashed potato, some Tupperware containers or deli containers, and about 1 litre of water. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some mashed potato to my containers. I've had this bag that I've already opened and used some. I just sort of fill it a little bit, not too much, because I don't want it to be full of mashed potato. I just want like 1 inch of mashed potato at the bottom. And I use mashed potato because it doesn't smell as bad. A lot of people that I've seen mix up these banana worms and micro worms is they use like rolled oats soaked overnight. Great, and it works a treat. I just can't stand the way it smells because this is a bit of a stinky culture. It's not great because the worms are in containers and they're pooping, they're eating and pooping, and the yeast and everything. It does start to smell, but I have found that the mashed potato doesn't smell as bad. So I definitely recommend doing mashed potato. It is a little bit more pricey than rolled oats, but for the sake of my nose, I'm gonna spend the extra few dollars. So I just grabbed a spoon. Any spoon will do. This is just an aquarium spoon that I've used for food and things. So I'm just gonna add a little tiny bit of water at a time and mix it up, because you wanna get like a runny mashed potato. You don't want it to be too dry. Definitely needs to be sort of a runny consistency. Once I'm happy with the consistency, I'm just patting the top down. I've just gone ahead and done the same thing to all 3 containers. And now I'm just gonna add a little sprinkling of dried yeast. This is just to get the bacteria culture going in these tubs. It's an optional step because there is yeast within the starter cultures. So I do this because I just want a little bit more food in there for them. I find that I get a better yield. So this is the gross starter culture, and now I'm gonna go ahead and just pop like a teaspoon in each of the cultures, pat it down a little bit, get those worms in there. So basically what we're doing is we're refeeding this culture. I like to do this every 4 to 6 weeks. You can definitely tell once your culture is done because it goes like super runny, which is the waste from all the worms, which happens pretty much every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on your container, of course. Now I've grabbed the lids here. I've just labeled them with banana worms, and now I'm going to use a little pin and a lighter to heat it up to poke some holes in there to get some air in. Now I want these holes to be extremely small, why I'm using a pin. This is so no bugs or anything can get in there basically, so we don't want to contaminate the cultures. You can also use like a little bit of filter floss or a little bit of sponge. I have done that in the past where I've cut a hole and popped some sponge in there. I just find this method a little bit better. I like it. I've found that because I keep everything inside, it's indoors, I'm not going to get any bugs or anything coming in. It's worked a treat for me. Where I have found that the other way can get a little bit gross because the worms will find their way up onto the lid of the container, as you can see in my starter culture there in the corner. This is just, I find, a little bit better. So I'm just poking holes all the way around the perimeter. That'll allow that air in. Okay, so now that we've prepared, I'm going to show you guys how to feed it. Once the worms have taken over the medium, they will start to crawl up onto the side of the plastic. Once they've crawled up onto the side of the plastic like this one, this is the lid of my old culture. I use a brand new paintbrush, so I bought this particularly for scraping these worms off, and I've only ever used it for that. So what I basically do is I go ahead and I'll scrape it like that, and there's like a nice big glob of worms on there, and then I'll pop it in here and shake it about, and you can see all of that cloudiness is worms. So I've got little angels and I've got little aspidoras in this tank, so they're both happy to have this as a food. And as you can see, they're eating. But that's all I do, so it's really easy. It's just scrape it off like that, nice big glob, pop it in the tank. And then I just sort of wash it in the water, let it dry, and that's how easy it is to feed. Now, something I did want to mention with this is I only feed this for maybe the first few days. As soon as these fish can go on to brine shrimp, I swap them over. Now I do still add it in like mixed with the brine shrimp, so maybe I'll feed this and some brine shrimp and then feed this in the middle of the day and then feed brine shrimp again at night. But it is important that you get those brine shrimp in there as soon as the fish are able to eat them, because they have more of a nutritional value to them. So yeah, like I said, this is more of like a filler food to get you through that first few days when it's really hard to keep baby fish alive. As soon as we're on brine shrimp, I recommend feeding mostly brine and using this as a filler. All right guys, well thanks for watching. I hope this helped, and I hope you guys go and start your own culture of banana worms and micro worms. I've had a really good time with them, and like I said, I have found that I've been more successful with keeping my smaller fry alive and having better yields out of them. So if you like this video, definitely leave me a comment because I want to hear from you guys, subscribe, do all that great stuff, and I will catch you on the next one.